I'm Chris McDonough, a retired homicide detective. I've interviewed thousands of people, from serial killers to ministers. Welcome to the interview room.
Possible GTA suspect there now, 4730 Crystal Springs Drive in the parking lot above.
Welcome to the interview room, everybody.
No further description, adding striping to a black
Time to take a seat.
Possibly exchanging plates, vehicle license.
As always, coming to you from an undisclosed location. If you enjoy real crime and mystery, you've come to the right channel. At TIR, we follow the evidence wherever it takes us on a case. All parties are innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. All opinions are welcomed here. We only ask one thing. You keep them safe, classy, and factual. Thank you always to our mods, our members, and our subscribers. With all of you, we move mountains of justice for families and victims. Tonight's program, the AW team is in the house. Jared, Doug, and Nick. They say heroes fly around with capes. These guys are in dive suits. Absolutely impressed every time I see them work. Every time. So take a seat. Enjoy the show. We've got a lot going to go on tonight. We're going to talk about Jalissa Fuentes, and we're going to touch on Kiely. Thank you for spending your Sunday night with us. And we thank AWP for being here as a guest. Hey, guys.
How's it going? Chris, how you doing tonight? It's been a while since we got together.
Yeah, it's been a little bit, and I'm so grateful that you guys are out there just making a dent in everything that you touch. It's absolutely beautiful to watch and fantastic. I think you're changing the dynamics of so many things, and well-deserved recognition, and well-deserved for all the hard work that you guys have been doing and continue to do, not only just in the local cases, but I know you have plans ahead of you that I know you're hiring. Can I say that? AWP?
Yeah, we've got a lot of things going on. So we only have one position that's left. So I don't know if you're applying for it right now or not. But here's the thing.
I'm good. Do you need a geisha? You need a geisha boy?
Yeah, just somebody can cook, once in a while. So, no, we're speaking of making dents, we're getting ready to actually head out on the road again. Right now, we're wrapping up the second trailer. Like we have not had it done yet. We've been doing that for the last 2 days. We're going to be on it again tomorrow. It's Doug's trailer. It's identical to what we call the twins. In fact, we labeled a video called the twins as we were showing both trailers, but those are the twins when people thought that we were the twins is what we were referring to. Anyway, I roll out on the 20th at 6 a.m. Doug rolls out on the 23rd at 6 a.m.
So you're going two different directions?
Two different teams this time. This is our first official
Fantastic.
Two teams out at the same time. And like I said, we're making dents, and I'm hoping to make a bigger dent and help as many families as we can in the next 45 days.
That's awesome. So fantastic. Guys, I have to tell everybody a simple story. I met Jared a while ago, And this guy's got a huge heart, and he wears it on his sleeve. And, you know, we were sitting in Oregon at a stoplight, and I looked over and I see this guy sitting there, and I said to my sweetheart, I said, "Hey, that's Jared." And she goes, "No way." I said, "No, seriously, that's him." So do you remember I hit you with a text like, "Hey, nice." I think you were driving a Jeep.
Yeah, I was driving my daughter's 2002 Jeep Liberty, so I'm really surprised you even recognized me at that point. You know,
I was, hey, I'm a trained observer, right? Not bad. So I hit him up with a text that said, "Hey, nice Jeep," and you know, he was like, "What? Where are you?" And I said, "We're right down the street." And anyway, we had dinner together, and then the next day, you know, where did you take me? What was that that place where we went in the morning to have?
Well, we did the Looney Bean as far as a for
That's it.
drinks that afternoon.
Yep, that's it.
I don't remember. We didn't do breakfast the next day, did we? We probably
No,
did.
that was the next day. We went to pizza the night before, and then you took me to that Looney Bean for donuts and hot chocolate and all the other stuff, coffee and all the other stuff.
Yeah,
and we hung out there for a little bit and chit-chatted. So it's good. How's your family?
Family is amazing. You know, girls are good. Wife is. I just celebrated 27 years of marriage, so incredible that anybody
Congratulations.
that long. This guy's got 4 years in now, I think. So yes, it's a long sentence for him as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, at least you got a good parole officer there, so you'll be in good shape, Doug.
I'm just glad that they have this whole community service program that locks him in. He's got the ankle bracelet on right now too.
Yeah, I bet. I love it. Well, I know you've got to jump, Jared. You've got a little bit, but I know that you guys are hot on the tail. So how's everybody been doing since the Kiely situation? Is that toning down, or what's the status there?
I think it's one of those things to where it's still in the news. It's going to stay in the news until there's further word from the investigation. And one of the things about the investigation, I mean, we have our stance. We've spoken publicly about what we believe based upon what we've seen, and there's a lot that people are making judgment calls as to us voicing our opinion, and people want to hear our opinion until our opinion doesn't align with others. And we're okay with that based upon all the evidence that we have. Now, if law enforcement comes out and they say, we believe otherwise, we will support their decision. Will we believe it in our hearts based upon what we've seen? We never will. But we have to accept it, and we will continue to move on to the next case, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to find the where and let them figure out the how and if there's a who involved.
Yeah, and that will also tie into why did this occur in relationship to the totality of all the evidence pointing in a certain direction. And you've been like that. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me ask you this, though, because, I mean, you are law enforcement, okay? We don't do
Retired.
Retired, and so we don't do things as others always want us to do. We work with the families. We notify families first instead of law enforcement. We identify with 100%, certainty before we, include law enforcement if they're not standing there with us. That's families first for us. So I kind of want to come back to that question. Do you agree or disagree with it? And I'm okay with whatever criticism you give us on that one. But then in the same, in the same token with criticism, I'm fine with, how do you feel about us just simply expressing our opinions, whether it aligns with what you may believe based upon what you've seen, or it does not? I just want to hear from a retired law enforcement,
that's a great question. So here's my position. I think, we're in the 21st century here, right? And just kind of like, when 8 tracks faded out, everybody said, well, what's this? Oh, it's a cassette tape. Okay. And then when they faded out, everybody said, well, what's this? Oh, it's a CD. Okay. Well, I think law enforcement's going through a metamorphosis with the 21st century here. I really believe there has to be a paradigm shift. And you guys are proof of it. I mean, you've solved 20 plus, cases, that 24 cases, that's a track record. Okay. That's not something that just happens. Okay. You guys have a proven strategy. my personal opinion, I would love to see law enforcement, even dive teams, embrace you and say, okay, well, what strategies are you utilizing? And, kind of bring you in on a, train the trainer class. It doesn't mean, and you've never been like this. And since I've known you anyway, you've never been like, hey, I've got all the answers. And I know, Doug, I've watched your stuff, as well. You're not that guy. I watched you intently when you discovered that car. Go, okay, I've got to think through this process. Okay. And, the fact that an agency may or may not have the courage to call you and say, we need help. Okay. That paradigm needs to shift. Because this was clearly a situation, and I know they assigned somebody, but it wasn't, I don't know how you want to, describe that, but, they said, go, and you guys went. Okay. And you did what you did. And you know what? You brought peace to the family. Okay. And you resolved the situation. Now, they can do, to your point, they can do what they do. Okay, and let them chase it down. Okay, that's not wrong to have an opinion if you have observations under that water of what you believe. Okay, it's never what it is. I had I met a guy, and I shared this on another podcast a while ago. I had a guy named Jigsaw John. He was in LAPD homicide for 44 years. Okay, that's what they used to call him, Jigsaw John. Okay, and I sat down with him, and I said to him, I said, John, what's the secret? And the first question he asked me, right, other than, do you want to know? Okay, he says, are you teachable? That's what he said. And I said, well, I think I am. And he says, are you teachable? And he asked it again. I said, yes, I am. I want to know. And he told me some things. Okay. And this is one of those moments, I think, and you guys are proving it over and over and over again. And the smaller agencies are embracing it, saying, hey, we don't have this skill set. We need A, B, C, and D. Okay. And so now these agencies that are kind of in between, the mid-sized agencies, the larger agencies, New York, LA, and all the other guys, I mean, those guys, they've got Navy divers and all this other stuff, and they're going to tell you that. Okay, well, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Okay, but you're really doing an amazing work for these families and these agencies that don't have the resources. And what's cool about it is you're doing it on your own, and the people that support you are supporting what you're doing. By buying your stuff, by subscribing, by doing all the things that you do. Okay. It's not free to drive in that clunky old junky motorhome that you have. Okay. I have an Airstream, by the way, just kind of going to get a little dig on you, brother. I'm teasing. But
they're both starting to bend, by the way, so they're actually cracking already. But look, I was told that the back end is not going to fall off and nobody's going to be injured, but it will eventually rip apart.
Yeah, dude, you got to get an Airstream. You got to get an Airstream. And just wrap it with AWP and that because they put the astronauts in these things when they came back from the moon. So. But anyway, getting back to my thought process was, I think the more law enforcement agencies embrace this, and as I briefly share with you, I was just training in Albuquerque, New Mexico, the first ever homicide task force for the Native American women. There are 1,500 Native American women that have been murdered across this country on reservations. And this was the third of 4 classes. We got another one in North Dakota coming up in November. But I had the task force commander on my show a couple weeks ago, and his name is Justin. And I used you guys in the classroom to this whole team of investigators. And I said, look, this is a perfect example of guys who come to the table with credibility. Okay? They have a track record. They've proven they're not, wackadoodle, as I like to say. Okay. They are actually working alongside families, and they'll work alongside you. Okay. And if we embrace this, that is a powerful tool, because not only do they have a following, and I said this, okay, but they have this tool set that they've successfully mastered. And 24 victims of who have been missing for years. What's the oldest case you have?
30.
Carrie Mae Parker. She was missing for 30 years.
30 years. 30 years.
Yep.
Yeah. And you would have also got Brian McKenzie too, obviously with Frances. And I'm still very close to her, but you couldn't get into that other pond where they ultimately found him. It was on private property in there, and I remember that. So, you would have actually had 25. Okay. But so we'll go with the 24 now, and then, LE, but I know you met with those guys, Stanford up there in Jackson. You
they were
sat
great
down
to work with. Yeah, both. Yeah, the law enforcement as well as the local dive team and volunteer fire department.
Yeah, they're great guys, and that's the spirit I hope that more LE will embrace, with folks such as yourself who have proven themselves that, hey, this is what we do, this is how we do it. We got a track record, et cetera, and then everybody can say, okay, well, you guys do it, and if you get something, let us know, turn it over. And that's what you do. You've been doing this for a long time. And so, kudos to you. And, hopefully we'll see more and more agencies start to embrace it. And quite frankly, check your ego at the door. Not you guys. I'm just saying, LE needs to check the ego a little bit and say, hey, these guys did A, B, C, and D. And thank goodness they did.
Hey, one thing I want to drop, and I've not put this out there publicly, but I'd like to do so on your show tonight, just for
Sure.
some of those that might be on here that want to critique the way that we did it differently on this one. Is that we were really quick to actually put out a notice on Facebook this go around. Like, we've notified the family members that we had access to it, and we've notified law enforcement, and they were not even on scene yet as far as law enforcement. But there's a reason why we did that we left it out of the video, and we've never mentioned it publicly. But I had to address it with somebody privately that I had a good relationship with them, and unfortunately, I had to end that relationship because they didn't come to me. If you have a question, come to me and say, "Why did you do it this way this time instead of the way that you normally do it?" Well, what people didn't know and realize is that from time to time we have news agencies that are a fly on the wall. They're with us all day long. And in this particular case, we actually had the New York Post with us. That's why you see the New York Post was the very first one to go out there to the public. And you saw that Doug shut everybody's phones down. Well, he also shut down New York Post. He actually took their phone from them and said, "You're turning that phone off now. You are not going with keeping this until we have 100% positive identification." And so we were a lot quicker to make our announcement sooner than we normally do, because is it better for us to control the narrative on it rather than we know how news agencies don't always get it right. And so that is why we beat them to the punch, because they were standing there with us side by side that day to make sure that we controlled it.
As well as 20 other media representatives that were on the other side of the reservoir. So it was, everything that you see on camera is what it is, but there's a lot that the public doesn't know, like what he just explained. There's a reason. There's like you said, this isn't our first time doing it, and we do it with integrity and respect and a lot of responsibility. And we go out of our way to mitigate any risks whatsoever, whether that's to our image, the family's image, or law enforcement image. So, it was done very professionally, and then there's a lot that the public doesn't know. And, it's success and, the recent results that we've been able to produce over the last few years, and they're going to always overshadow anything else anybody else has to say.
Yeah, no, the results always speak for themselves, right? And, there's always going to be somebody or something that's going to, Monday morning quarterback. I mean, just, welcome.
And I tell you what,
yeah.
Yeah, and I tell you what, we love criticism, fair criticism, because what's happening if it's fair and if it's legit, we're learning, we're building, we're growing. So that if it's legit criticism, bring it. Like we actually, we want that, so that way we can become better. But if it's not,
like right now, I have some criticism. This is Doug's computer and his, new live cam stream setup, and he doesn't know how to get this camera to quit blowing out. So
look, we could
that's
easily
my
turn
criticism
it.
for you
We could
right
easily
now.
turn it.
Is that going to take care of it?
Oh, yeah, if you turn it all the way around, it's the backdrop.
It is what it is.
It's the backdrop.
I love it.
But yes,
I
but like Doug said, I'll take it aside. We are always learning, and real criticism we don't mind. The trolls that are straight up trolling us, we don't even respond to it anymore. It doesn't make a bit of difference, and we've learned to have extremely thick skin, and it is what it is.
Yeah, we're focusing on positives and helping families, and that's all we're focused on. The rest we don't care about. We're gonna always continue to keep it moving forward and do wonderful things in the world.
Amen. And you know what? That's the clarity of focus. You don't have to look in the rearview mirror. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep getting better at doing it, because to your point, you're going to keep learning. We all learn. I mean, just there's an old saying: "Who's the fool? The fool himself, or the fool who follows?" Okay. And so you know what? You guys in my book, you're top shelf in my book. Because, I've watched you guys, run with this whole idea. And Jared, you and I had some personal talks on this stuff about what your vision was when this all started. And I was like, go. Did I not say, just go, man? You're going to make it happen.
You've seen this thing grow over the last couple of years for sure.
Yeah. And you've done it. You guys are now doing it at a level that people have to step back. And this is kind of like that growing pain, right? You're in this place where, I remember one time and I'm just going to give you an anecdote. I'm sorry, forgive me up front, but I had a caper where it was horrific. And I came out of this crime scene and all I had was a transfer on the wall. And my boss, and I looked up and there were 13 satellite trucks. This was before technology had advanced. And my boss looked at me, he says, "What do you have?" And I said, "Nothing." And he was like, "What do you mean nothing?" I said, "We have nothing, absolutely nothing." And you know what? There's a lot of growth that comes with that idea. And you started with that idea that says, you know what? I'm just going to start looking for stuff. And then that progressed into, I'm going to start looking for cars. And then that progressed into, I'm going to start looking for people missing in cars. Okay. And now you're at this point where you guys have just found, a national, international story case. And here's the big news. And Doug, you did it. You delivered. Loose lips sink ships. And people don't understand that principle, right? Because you have a responsibility, the people that called you in on it. You fulfilled that. Because now you also have dealt with those different dynamics. And I know Nick is processing some stuff. I can only imagine, being this was his first time. And wow, what a way to get baptism by fire, right? It's huge. And so he's going to deal with some stuff internally and grow like you guys have as you've gone through this. And you know what? People are going to say what they're going to say, but at the same time, here's the bigger news. Going forward, I think law enforcement is going to pay attention. That's going to be my prediction.
I can say overall, law enforcement across the country, for the most part, majority love us to death. We've spoken recently with some of the biggest law enforcement agencies in the entire nation, and they are behind us 100%. They're reaching out whenever they can, with questions on how to better their systems, or whether it's the talking with the FBI about things that I cannot discuss right now. But there's a lot of like you said, the results are opening a lot of eyes, but there's a lot of states and agencies that are wanting to know what we're doing, how we're doing it, modeling what we're doing.
Yep.
And it's a big learning experience, and they're adapting to the idea of what it is we're doing, and understanding what we're capable of. That's the biggest thing, because we do provide our services for free to families and law enforcement agencies, and knock on wood, we're good at what we do, and we're learning. Every case is different, every search is different, and by documenting it, everybody's watching it, and everybody's able to learn from it as well. So it's a
learning from it. Yeah. They're definitely learning from it, and that's powerful. Hey,
Yeah,
but
well
anyway,
said.
I do need to get going with what I've got going on over here.
Okay.
Get Nick, and I'm going to bump him in here. And yeah, I mean, why don't you guys discuss? I know that some people are in here and they want to learn something new. Some of the cases that you're working on that that they just came off of with new information that's not even been out there yet, that they might be able to share with you, as well as he kind of touched on that whole FBI thing. I'll just say that there's some bombshell information on a case that we've been working on that we're going to revisit that case, and we're going to discuss that. And we have some what do they call that, confidential informants that are no longer
CI.
confidential informants, that we're going to have them on as well. That's really going to take this case to a new direction. But there's always that what if that information is not credible, that you just never know. Anyway, they can touch on that a little bit more. Chris, I appreciate
Jared, thank you as always, buddy. And we're going to grab some more pizza and some donuts on me next time, the cop rolls.
Sounds good. Let me bump Nick on, and thank you everybody else for being here and supporting everybody.
Send my best to your family, buddy.
Will do.
You. Yeah. So Doug, while we're waiting for Nick to come in, let's see here. I'll wait for him.
He's coming. He's here. Oh, there he is.
There he is. Hey, buddy.
You can't
nice
see
to meet you.
Here, should I put a hat on?
Where's your hat, man? It's all blown out here.
Up a little bit.
Yeah, it's really sunny. It wasn't sunny a little bit ago, but it's sunny now.
It's all good. It's good. You look fine.
Sorry,
you look
guys.
good.
Sorry. Hey, we're out here in the sunshine.
And thank you if you're over here from AWP. Thanks for being here for these guys. They're awesome. They really are. And you two are, you're obviously the talk of the country, not only the country, I think the world. And what you've done, and God bless you for doing it. Amazing stuff. And I know that, you've been going through some, well, you tell me. I mean, you guys tell me what you guys were feeling that day in terms of, and I don't want to, kick it around too much, but at the same time, I am interested in, how you're feeling and how you got, how have you been adjusting since that day?
Man, this is it's tough stuff. It really is. It's extremely tragic, but we know what we're doing. We understand what it is that we're doing, but we're focusing on the effect. What is the effect? We're providing answers that no one else in the world has been able to provide, and in returning somebody's loved one that never knew anything, and ending that nightmare of not knowing. It's positive. It's a positive thing that we're always focusing on, and not that it's perspective. Your perspective dictates life. It dictates character. Character dictates your decisions, all that other stuff and so forth. But it all begins and ends with perspective. We can make this as hard on ourselves, as we could, or we can make it as easy on ourselves as we can. And that's what we do. Our perspective, it begins and ends between our two ears, and, focusing on the positive. And, this being Nick's first one definitely is, it's his first one. I mean, you can describe that.
Obviously, that was a very emotional day for me. And I think both of us in general, especially when we finally come to the conclusion that what we had found underwater was in fact Kiely's car. And so to try to really put yourself in that moment, it's kind of a surreal feeling of a little bit of shock, anxiety, frustration. There's all kinds of emotions that are going through your head. But like Doug said, at the end of the day, when you accomplish something like that and confirm that that's the car you're looking for, and that it's potentially the missing person that you're looking for, it's it's better to have it known sooner than later that they're underwater and people aren't wondering for, weeks, days, years in the future. So I try to stay focused, like Doug said, on the positive and the outcome that brings.
Yeah.
That's a good attitude, Nick. It really is. And go ahead.
It's all filler. It's what are you going to allow to build up inside of your cup? What are you going to allow to be poured into your cup? And that's what it comes down to. What parts of this are we allowing to fill our cup up with? And it's nothing but positivity, really.
Awesome.
It does take a lot of discipline. But we're always focused. We're not doing it loosely. And I speak with a lot of law enforcement representatives such as yourself that have dealt with this type of stuff for decades. And we're very in tune with what we need to do, and taking time and decompressing and debriefing amongst each other. And that's one thing we really don't have to do is debrief, because we travel together. We're really close knit. We're talking the entire time. We're never quiet. And when we're on the way to a case, and when we're seeing a case on the way to the next case, it's 100% Scooby-Doo mystery machine in there. We were 100 miles an hour. Everybody's brains going, feelings out in the
Doug,
open.
I got to get you. Doug, I got two things you got to get. You got to get a freaking Airstream, okay, and you have to get a little Jack Russell mascot, like my buddy over here. I don't know where he's over on the floor over here. Jack Russells are nuts, but they'll go on the boats. They'll do anything with you, okay, and they drop that stress level and keep it at a PMA, a positive mental attitude, as you're pressing forward. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I'm pitching for an Airstream for you, brother. That's what I'm doing here for Jared. I hope he's listening. Pay attention, Jared. Go ahead.
Oh, he's always listening. That would be great. It'd be great to have a nice Airstream. We could
class
anything. Yes. It would definitely hold up a lot better.
Yeah.
How many people do you have in here right now?
44, almost 4,500.
4,500. Awesome. Everybody in here that's watching this, look, we're not going anywhere. We're not going to cover any other topics until you hit the like button. Hit the like button, but only hit it once. But hit the like button. Make sure you hit the like button if you like what you're seeing. If you like the topic, you like us being here, you love Chris, hit the like button.
We appreciate that very much. Okay, so enough of me. I'm more curious now. Your next mission here. You've got Jalissa Fuentes. Yeah, break it down. Give us a little 411 on what you got going there. Or is there anything else that you want to say that I didn't ask you that you feel you want to put out there?
Oh, there's always so much. I think you're doing a great job. This is going great, and we can jump right into Jalissa. Jalissa is 600. Let's just start. 600,000 people go missing every year in the United States of America, according to the Department of Justice. Now, we know a majority of those individuals do end up turning up, but you have, let's just say 100,000 people every single year that are not found. Year after year after year, there's millions of people out there that have never been found. And, these platforms, such as yours, such as ours, we can never do enough work. Our voice could never be louder. Our opinions could never be louder, because the bottom line is there's always somebody out there that needs to be found. We're a voice for the voiceless, and we're fighting for somebody who definitely can't fight for themselves. So what we're doing it's positive. It's a beautiful thing. One of the most beautiful things in the world to me, because it's not talked about enough, and as tragic as it is, 22-year-old Jalissa Fuentes disappeared out of Selma, California. She's been missing for about 4 weeks now, and just tragically, her and her 2011 Hyundai Accent just vanished. She went to a gas station in the middle of the night, and that was the last time she was seen. There's a lot of circumstances that are still left open for interpretation, but we know her vehicle is missing. She's responsible, educated, beautiful young girl that just vanished completely out of the character of her and what she's known for. And us working that case, we were able to come in and rule out some bodies of water that the family and local law enforcement was worried about. The second we were done, they immediately announced a large scale criminal investigation because they really do think that she has been abducted.
Yeah. Low risk victim. I mean, high risk situation in terms of the time of the morning, 4:06 a.m. That's pretty early at the AM, PM.
Those are risk factors, you know, and anytime you add those risk factors, no matter who you are as a person, you know, that enhances something, you know, and enhances a bad situation. You know, it increases the percentages of it.
Yeah, most definitely.
Out late at night, you know, if there's any type of, I mean, you know, this stuff, it's, you know, if you're going to be consuming any type of substances, you're increasing the percentages of something happen. If you're around certain individuals, you're increasing the percentages of something happen.
Yeah, and I love I loved your victimology sit down with the family. I watched that where you kind of got to know, you know, who this person is, right? And you know, it sounds like she lived with her grandmother. She worked in a nearby packing production house, if I remember right.
Yeah, a little produce place.
Yep, near and they lived near Fresno. A good buddy of mine, Jerry Dyer, he used to be the sheriff up there in Fresno, and now I think he's the mayor now up there. And anyway, so tell us what path you guys have gone down. I know you've searched her two favorite lakes, the Avocado Lake and the Pine Flat Dam. Is that right? Do I have that right, Nick?
Yep, we searched both those places, and we also there was another
Kings
River, which was in the nearby area, but that was more of a visual inspection. We walked up to the edge of the most likely place that she would have drove in, but it was too shallow, so the vehicle was not in those locations, and I'm confident that we cleared those, and we spent a lot of time at Pine Flat Lake and covered all the shoreline on I think that was the north side of the lake where the main roads and the boat ramps and the marinas are. And so, you know, there's that area is kind of some steep country in there. There's a lot of canyons and stuff driving up to the lakes. So we went off of info from local law enforcement on potential where her closest last cell phone ping was located, but it's hard to get an accurate location in terrain such as that. So we kind of actually searched a little bit farther out than what you would normally do on a normal cell phone ping. So
yeah, so there it sounds like there's a ping up there. What strategy do you guys, if you want to share it? I mean, I'll leave it up to you. You drive the conversation, but what did you have going in?
Yeah, so basically, whenever we come into a case, no matter what we think, no matter what we know, and no matter what facts we get from the police department, our main objective, we're there to serve the family first and foremost. So we go over we're here to represent and help you and your family. What are you concerned about? What can we do to use our resources to alleviate anything that your hearts have been worried? That's always our number one goal when working with a family, because they all, you know, this was a fresh case, but in our normal cold cases, you know, these families have places that they've been worried about for years, and they've always had hunches, and they've always driven past this body of water and wondered if their loved one's been in it. So that's our number one goal whenever we work a case. So with that being said, Jalissa's family was obviously worried about Avocado and Pine Flat, and so were the law enforcement representatives that I was in communication with. I was in communication with the chief of police in Selma, the mayor, as well as Fresno County Sheriff's Department, who had all put in a little bit of work on the case previously. And those two lakes were just everyone's point of interest in this case because they were just question marks. They didn't have the resources in that area to, without a doubt, rule them out. They had been searched, but they were still, you know, they weren't for sure, you know, and based on the resource and our expertise, you know, they wanted us to search those, and that way they didn't have to worry about them any longer. Typically, it's a 5-mile radius if we have an X factor. After you go over, like you just mentioned, the victimology, who is this person? Developing that profile, that lost person behavior profile. Who were they? Where they like to go? Places of frequency, relationships, you know, where the friends, you know, all these points of interest gives you an idea where you may or may not need to search. But typically in like a city or a populated area, 5-mile radius around us, the X factor, it's the cell phone ping, or do we have a last known location, something like that to really give us a good high target area of 5 miles. Here in Selma, it's not that populated, and her cell phone was out in the hills. And according to the information that I had, the cell phone information was not accurate either. So there's really no accurate target area we could set up in this place. At that point you can set up 20 miles, and it's going to take a long time to search that. So we have to be as efficient as possible with our time and our resource. So the Pine Flat Dam and Avocado were the main bodies of water. There was a few other little smaller bodies of water on private lands, but we were able to determine that they were in fact too shallow and so forth. But the biggest thing about this is we were able to rule out what they were concerned about near the cell phone ping. And what that means for the law enforcement now is, okay, we really do need to focus on an abduction. We need to really step this up to the next level, more awareness. And that's already been done. We need to really push this, nationally and so forth. And thank God, for platforms like yours and ours, we're able to push it too. And that's the paradigm shift that you're speaking about, is that, we're utilizing social media platforms, number one, responsibly, professionally, to create positivity in the world, to do something good, to do something that can't be done. On our combined platforms here, we have more reach than the news. We have more reach than network television. So really, by us not doing this would be a disservice. So it's a wonderful thing. It really
And
is.
this is great. This is great synergy. And what I've always loved about, Jared and your team is you guys are not and guys and gals, if you're listening from, wherever you are in the world, these guys are the real deal. And, and I'm talking from a guy who's been, 40 years in this profession and, still training, and man, I would have you in 5 minutes in a class, in front of a group of folks, and don't be surprised if you get a phone call one day, because that may happen.
We're always willing to share and help and help others understand what we're doing, whether that's just a normal person like us or it's a law enforcement agency. Because at the end of the day, we just want to help as many people as we can help, whether that's us helping them or somebody else.
Well, what makes your team and what separates you, okay, and what separates you from, I don't even want to go there, but what separates you guys is the fact that you ask questions. I had a forensic anthropologist one day, a guy named Roger Hegler. He's out of San Francisco. I mean, this guy's world renowned, and we're doing an archaeological dig. It's a victim, right? Body dump. Long story short, he comes out, and I've shared this a couple of times with my audience. He comes up with a bone, and I got a new guy standing next to me, and he goes, "Chris, what is this?" And he holds his bone up. I just kept my mouth shut, right? And he looks at the guy next to me. He goes, "What is this?" And he goes, "Oh, and he gives him some answer, right, about the human anatomy. And the doctor looks at him and goes, "Wrong." He goes, "It's a dog bone." Right. And the lesson there for me was, okay, this was a really good thing to keep shut. Okay. And to allow the experts to tell me what was going on. Okay. What I love about you guys is you come into a case and you say, how can we help? What don't we know? And I'm just thinking out loud, and you correct me if I'm wrong. And how do we make it better? Okay. And these are our strengths. These are our weaknesses. Each of you have them. You've identified them as a team. And that team approach now has become a synergism that the Kiely case was a perfect example of it all coming together in a very high profile situation. And, Good for you. Good for you. I'm sorry. I got sick from my granddaughter recently. So, cheers to little kids, anyway. Yeah, exactly, bro. There you go. But that's what prior planning, as Vet Girl says, prior planning, and experience. You guys are angels. I mean, people love you, and they should. They should. And law enforcement, I'm going to guarantee you, they're going to embrace you more and more and more.
They really are. Chris, they are. They are.
Yeah.
It's not. We don't flaunt it. We're not out for that type of publicity. We're really humble. We the more we do, the more humble we get, and I think that says a lot about what it is what our intentions really are. We just really want to help. But law enforcement has been amazing. And you can ask Nick. Like the last trip we went on was Nick's first trip, and everywhere we went, we're not even working cases. We're in transit. We can't stop without law enforcement that's just on their beats, pulling in. They're wanting pictures. They're wanting to talk to us about what it is. They're expressing how much we inspire them, and it's extremely humbling to get all that love from law enforcement all over the country and at all levels. FBI, the NYPD, LAPD, and the reservation representatives, and so forth. And it's great.
Do you have a challenge coin? Do you have an AWP challenge coin?
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something that we need to get. Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make sure I let Jared know. He's probably listening over here somewhere.
Yeah, he's listening over there. He's out shopping for an Airstream, I hope.
Yeah,
Jared, you need to get these guys some challenge coins. Go ahead.
Yeah. We solved the case in Russellville, Arkansas. There was a really big case. Samantha Hopper and her 2 children. The attorney general then turned around and took that as a teaching moment. She invited me to come down and conduct a training symposium for the entire state. And, I held a PowerPoint presentation and played some video on FARS, how we do what we do, why we do it, the methods that we use, and just showcased what it is that we're capable of, so that they know we're a resource, but also so they can learn from us as well, because it's unorthodox at times, and it's out of the box. And that's really the key with what we're able to do, is explaining our lack of red tape and how that helps us be a resource. And sometimes red tape does prevent a lot of things, and so that's the power of a good example of what is facilitating the paradigm switch and embracing, because we're able to do. The private sector has always been known for creating results that the normal sector cannot, or the normal sector does not want to have their hands involved in. And that's a whole rabbit hole we don't have to go in. But it in that whole scenario, it's not new. But
when I think other people, and I think the public also has to realize that one of the reasons you guys work with the family is the other side of this is you cannot be an agent to the agency. Because at that point, then, you're going to put your hand up in more courtrooms across the country than you've ever imagined. Okay. That you have to go into it completely 100%, risk-free to do with just what you said, Doug, to do all the things that you do. Okay. And then let the evidence flow from there in terms of what you guys have discovered. Okay? Yeah. That's the great thing about, even being retired, right? I can talk to somebody. I don't have Miranda, I don't have all these other challenges that we used to have. I can walk up to somebody and say, did you do A, B, C, and D? And if they say yes, then I can, pass that on to the agency as a gift. And that's what you do. And that's what you're doing. So I just want to jump back real fast into Jolissa for a second. I just saw this, information come up. Yeah. Where Miss Fuentes, I know her family is just doggone on it to help find this little girl. But I want to get through a little bit about her victimology, as well as somewhat of a little timeline. And correct me if I make any mistakes here, okay? So just, keep me honest here. So she was last seen she was last seen at the AM PM gas station in Selma, California, near Fresno, about 4:06 a.m., 04:06 a.m. And she was driving a 2011 Honda, and this is the ticker going down on the bottom, California 8 Mary Paul Union 766. Okay, 8MPU 766. It's a silver Honda. We need to find that car. We find the car, we find her.
Yes.
Okay, at least we get another kick in the right direction. And she left the gas station, but did she turn in the opposite direction of where she lives?
So where she left was kind of like in a universal direction. She could have went the direction she turned, or she could have went anywhere.
Okay.
So that was at 4:06. She was seen at the gas station. I believe it was at 2 something. She left a party where she was in an argument with somebody. The argument, according to, if you watch our episode and my interview with the family explained, how that wasn't of concern, and if you have any questions in regards to all those other details, just watch our episode with Jalissa. There's a probably about a 30-minute interview with mom, her cousin, and her aunt that can answer a lot of questions. So we know she left the party she was in an argument with. She tried to call her sister, FaceTime. Her sister was sleeping, and sister didn't pick up. The very last call from her phone was, I believe, at 5:26,
something like that.
A little bit after 5 o'clock. Again, to her sister, trying to FaceTime her sister, and her sister
was near Avocado Lake.
Yeah. So it's not near Avocado Lake. Avocado Lake is just the nearest body of water out there. The cell phone tower that's out there is pretty far, and according to Fresno County sheriffs, you're looking at at times, depending on how it's received, it could be 15 miles or so difference. And that's a big difference. But because she had ties, she was familiar with Avocado Lake, it just gave it a lot more significance. It just made sense. You're working with, we have a lake out there near this, and she's also familiar with it, so it just gives it more merit. But that was the last transmission from her phone, and which was out there in that region of those foothills near Pine Flat and Avocado, and then no other trace from her. Just
so your time frame, you're kind of locked into 04:06. She's seen on CCTV too.
Yes, that's at 4:06. Yeah.
Okay, and then 05:26 a.m.
Yep. That's the last call from
the last ping
out in the foothills near Pine Flat and Avocado region out there.
Is that a triangulation ping, or is that a?
I can't speak accurately to that. I can tell you that what was told to me led me to believe it was not. Like honestly, I don't know if they were even able to. It was that bad of cell phone information.
Okay, Nick, you wanted to say something. I could tell. What were we going to say?
No, I was just he hit it on the head with that.
Yeah. It wasn't good cell phone information at all.
Okay.
Basically said it kind of echoes around, or it ricochets off the canyon walls and stuff. So it's hard to get a real accurate reading on that.
Okay. And so where are you guys going from here? I know you guys are passing out flyers. You were passing out flyers. Where's this situation going?
So this is a 100% a criminal investigation now. The investigators that are involved and that are including the family are now, they really believe this is an abduction, possibly a sex trafficking situation. This area is known for that. Jalissa's family member, a close family member, was abducted by a sex trafficker months prior, held for 5 weeks and released.
Wow.
So are we working with the same situation? Unfortunately, with and I hate to get into race, but this is about race. It is what it is. You Hispanic and blacks and Native Americans and Alaskans, you never hear about them when they go missing. Never. And they never get the publicity that they need. And if it wasn't for Jalissa's family, we wouldn't have been able to work the case. We would have never known about this case. So the kudos to their family for really getting out there and fighting and getting the word out there to us so that we could work it. And then Now, because we've worked it, the whole world knows about it now, and the
Yeah.
whole world is talking about it. And that's the power. We're talking about the paradigm again, and that's this is absolutely needed. It truly is. And I think the best old school example of that is John Walsh. I mean, how long was John Walsh a voice for the voiceless, and all the closures that operation brought organically? It's really no difference in a sense, except for we're producing a family story, putting it on YouTube, but the concept is the same. And the Jalissa she's out there. Somebody has done something to her. Somebody possibly still has her, and there's most likely multiple people out there who know. So they just need to do the right thing and let her go, or or let somebody know where she is so that she can be found and brought home.
Well said, brother. Seriously, and if TIR has anything to do with this, and we're going to keep the volume up. We'll keep the volume up, and you guys, as the family's welcome to just ping me, and we'll have them come up and they can tell the story from their perspective as well in a safe environment to make sure that the information continues to move.
We work with a lot of families, Chris, and most of our cases that we work are cold cases. These are cases that law enforcement have reached a dead end. There's nothing to go off of. There's nothing left for them to be able to do to appropriately justify utilizing resources in that case anymore. They have to justify their use of resources to best serve the public, right? So with these cases, most of the cases are cold, and Jalissa's case, even though it's fresh, was cold. There's nothing to go off of. And in a missing persons case, and this is great information for the public and anybody that's watching this, what do you do when your loved one goes missing? Really, what do you do? I can tell you right now, if there's not blood, if there's not forced entry, if there's not signs of foul play, very little is ever going to be done. You have to get out there and beat the streets up to find your loved one, to get those cameras before they're overwritten, to talk to those neighbors and beat the streets like Jalissa's family has done. Because if just Jalissa's family hadn't been doing this, unfortunately, law enforcement just can't do anything. And most missing person cases, there's nothing to go off of. There isn't. And until there is, you're never going to get any help. So if your loved one goes missing, you got to get out there. We worked cases that are 15, 20 years old, and not everybody has that drive. A lot of people have, they don't have the creative thinking or whatever you want to call it to get out there and do it on their own. They trust law enforcement. Hey, we've notified them. We filed a missing persons report. Let's just sit back. I can tell you, however, that is the wrong thing to do, because I've worked cases that are old and evidence is lost because that waiting period goes. Next thing you know, you have 3 or 4 weeks that go by, nothing's done. And then you're going back to the police station. Hey, what are you guys doing? They can't do anything. Meanwhile, the neighbor that saw something forgot about it. The camera that was recording on the street is overwritten.
They recorded over.
Yeah, the evidence is gone. And I would say a good percentage of the cases that we've worked that are cold could have been solved had or been done up front by the family or by the community. Because like I said, it's not a knock on law enforcement whatsoever. It's just they can only do what they can do with what they have to go off of.
Yeah, no, well said. Very well said, actually. And that's why I don't know if you know that I'm the national director for law enforcement relationships at the Cold Case Foundation. And we have 137 investigators, all experts in their own field, right? Everywhere from a lab to DNA to, et cetera. And we jumped in just recently on this little boy up in Idaho, Michael Vaughn. I'm just going to pitch him right now because we got so many people in here, 5,100 people. He's 5 years old and he's missing. And, we need to find him. It's just like we need to find Jalissa. If she's been trafficked, in a trafficking situation here with, somebody who's, been an unfriendly, then let's, take a look around. We find the vehicle, okay, from an investigative position, we find the vehicle, then more leads will follow.
Absolutely.
In this case. So It's a silver Honda 2011 silver Hyundai Accent. It's got a California plate of 8 Mary Paul Union 766, 8 MPU 766. Help AWP find this car. And if you believe there are other water sources or wherever, that they should be looking into with Nick and Doug here, make sure that you guys reach out to them. Get over to their channel, subscribe to their channel, buy their stuff, because that keeps them on the road. It keeps them allows them to do this for free for families. And we have to get somebody in the Airstream business to get them an Airstream so they can travel this country and not have to worry about, your wheels falling off. You've got,
That'd be great. That would be amazing, Chris. Absolutely.
It'd be a great PR, tool for them as well, to wrap it with AWP. I think people will catch notice of that, but in all total seriousness here. So just a personal question. So how did you two guys meet? How did you guys come across each other in life?
So I started diving with Jared when he started the YouTube channel like 4.5 years ago. Back then we were just kind of cleaning up the local rivers and making environmental cleanup, public awareness kind of videos and that sort of thing. And as that started to grow in size with the amount of subscribers and views that Jared was getting at the time, we kind of moved outside of the Central Oregon area, and we went up a little bit north of here to the Portland area, which there's a big river that flows through Portland called the Willamette River. And we started finding a bunch of cars in the river up there. And, a lot of these are dumped for insurance fraud reasons, or maybe they're actually stolen. But one way or another, there's a lot of cars, and there used to be, at least in the Willamette River. So what we would do is use these big lift bags that we had, and we would float them up and then drag them with a boat or whatever over to the nearest boat ramp. At the time, Doug was running a towing company in the Portland area, and so he was our go-to guy for meeting us at the boat ramp.
Love you guys. Serious already. I mean, the two of you, I absolutely love you. Go ahead, keep going.
So he would meet us there, and he would pull out the vehicles, and he would load them onto a trailer and take them away to the scrapyard. And this went on for a year, maybe a year and a half, and then finally he started doing. I was only kind of part-time helping Jared out when I could, because I worked a full-time job during the week, and so if they had these scheduled for the weekends, I could make it up there. But they were doing this more than I was, and then this eventually turned into. Accidentally one of the vehicles actually had a deceased person in it. And so that kind of changed the whole dynamic, where Jared and the AWP website was blowing up with people from all over the country saying, "Hey, we've got a missing person. Can you help us, missing in a vehicle? Can you help us find this person?" So kind of changed directions for what we were doing at the time. And then Doug, obviously, he liked helping us out. And so he eventually, he's an expert rigger with vehicles. So he said, "I just want to get underwater and help rig these vehicles." So in the meantime, I became a scuba instructor, kind of as a hobby on the side. And so when I became an instructor, Doug reached out to me and said, "Hey, I want to get certified." So it wasn't, but just over a year ago, I actually just certified Doug to be a scuba diver just over a year ago. And so that's kind of how we met and how our relationship kind of progressed. And so now we basically work together.
Yeah. Now I
cool.
see the question up there. Now we're focusing on cold cases full time, and we have 2 teams that leave here in a couple days that will both be traveling for 20 weeks out of the year. On this upcoming trip, we will be helping around 50 families in the next 35 days. That is insane. So we are focusing on doubling the results that we've been able to produce in half of the time. So that's, we just want to help, and the community's putting us in the position to do this. We're not government funded yet, and the community does this through watching our YouTube videos, whether that's becoming a member, buying a hat, buying a sweater to help get us across the country, 4 miles a gallon, and the sonar equipment and the upgrades and the motors, and having the editors to be able to edit the videos to spread awareness so we can help the next family is all made possible because of the community, community driven. And how beautiful is that? Like, how beautiful is it to use social media to do anything positive, let alone to produce so much results that we've been able to produce over the last few years, and so big thanks to all of our supporters who put us in this position.
Absolutely.
We would be just normal guys, just, doing normal things in life if it wasn't for the world that it had really the movement that supports Adventures with Purpose.
Yeah, and just like a law enforcement agency, they depend on funding to keep moving, and the way you guys are doing it is just to be commendable. I mean, you need the funding to get out and do what you do. There's so many things that go on behind the scenes, and good for you guys. And folks, I would encourage every single one of you. This is kind of like a GoFundMe in motion, in action. Just hit them up over there, just because then they can take those funds and they can utilize them, for gas, food, hotels, all the other stuff that come along with this. And it just doesn't show up on YouTube, in a video. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. And it was so cool to hear your story, Nick, the way you two guys met. And Doug, I love the fact that your background, gives you this insight in moving cars in certain ways. And I can
really
tell
weird,
you,
right?
dude, 3 o'clock in the morning, how many times, right? If it was me and you and the back in the day, standing next to that guy and me looking at you going, so how are you going to get that out of the tree?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So,
and you're like, I got it, man. I got it.
I would have never thought that my lifelong experience in the towing industry would have put me here now, specializing in dealing with cars underwater. I've owned, operated, and managed towing companies all across the country, from Washington, D.C. to Florida, to Portland, Oregon. And to just have that experience turned and transitioned into what I'm doing right now it doesn't even seem real, but it's an honor.
Well, they make a show out of it on the ice truckers. What is it? The big, right?
Yeah,
That
there's a few towing shows out there. I mean, they're not as cool as what we're doing. We're
No,
helping, but they're cool.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. You guys are making an impact. So, and then how did you guys all connect? I know I just heard from and Jenna, I hope that just answered your question. I had you start here. Thank you so much. When you guys all now are kind of in sync with each other, and Jared's got, I got to give it to him. I mean, that's one smart dude, right there.
The community has done this, right? The community's put Jared in the position to do this. But look, I mean, just think about anybody who's familiar with Adventures with Purpose and where it has come from. It is mind-blowing what Jared has used the community's support to create this. Yeah, like there's no true words that could really encompass like it's just the growth and the results, from pulling trash and treasure out of the river to, now the FBI is, I can't even talk about it, but they're really interested in having us assist them with a lot of other things. And, other agencies and state representatives reaching out. It just goes to show.
I know their teams because, my career was in Oceanside, California, SoCal. Yeah. And we have harbor ducks. We used to call them harbor ducks, right? We had a whole division that was a harbor division. And we used to, we used to go on boat rides to the buoys with the fire hoses for the sea lions and, shoot them off the sea lions with the fire hose and the sea lions loved it because they were getting baths, right? Yeah. And so, you guys, and we have a, pretty robust harbor team up there. And I know the USERT guys would come down from the feds. And we also had the SEALs that would come down to the harbor, the Navy SEALs from Coronado, and they'd go onto the Camp Pendleton side over there. I used to watch them train the dolphins down there back in the day. But
Nice.
you guys are super cool. Look, people, what you're doing. So first of all, let me ask you, what's your time limit?
Say it again.
I want to be, what's your time limit? I just want to be sensitive to your time.
Oh, we're good. We're good. We're okay. You shoot away. We're great together. You're spreading awareness for what it is that we're doing.
Okay.
We love you and respect your show, the integrity that you bring to the table. So we're not in a rush at all.
Okay,
How many
cool.
likes do you have right now?
Huh, brother?
How many likes do you have so far? You have 5,000 yet?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I have to.
All right. Make sure you guys hit the like button. Hit the
Hey,
like
hit that
button.
subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button. That's
And
the,
hit the
that's
subscribe.
the only
So
thing I ask is the subscribe. Hit that in the thumbs. I mean, I didn't know how all this stuff worked.
Do you happen to know Frank Powell?
I don't. The name doesn't ring a bell. But tell me about Frank Powell. It sounds like a great guy.
Oh, he was a retired FBI representative who was on the Dr. Phil show with us. Extremely educated and familiar with diving and so forth, and down in the Bay Area. So just wanted to know if you knew him or not.
Yeah, no, I did. I've never met him, and I've just maybe our harbor guys would have, right? I mean, I spent half of my career I spent out of my 25, I spent 13 in homicide.
Yeah, we just did a big show with Dr. Phil on the Jed Hall case. They were actually with us when we solved that case in Idaho Falls, Idaho, and it was a really big story, informative and educational as far as that particular case and the complexities that case resulted from. And as far as what we're doing and how they felt, how law enforcement felt about what we're doing. And Frank Powell was one of those representatives that was on the panel from the FBI, and he echoed your sentiments, which is it's needed. Volunteers in a professional manner are needed. There can never be enough of them, and it's absolutely necessary.
Well, and if you think about it, I mean, what you guys are doing, for people to, to second guess it, for lack of a better term, you're always going to get that, right? It doesn't matter. You're going to have some, and you guys embrace it. I embrace it. I mean, I'm a lightning rod. Depends on who you talk to, right? It's like, why are you going to talk to that guy? And okay. Life goes on, love, and we keep moving forward. It is what it is. But what you guys are doing, and what's really super cool is, you're not only, helping these families, but you're raising this level of, we need to get better at doing what we do for, the full-time LE guys, right? But there will always be a need for AWP. And the fact that you come to the table with each of your individual experiences, the diving experiences, but you don't just come to the table with it. You actually progressed in your knowledge. And Nick, you said it great, where, it started out with, throwing the magnet in or whatever, searching for phones and all the other stuff. Because I remember back in the day, I was watching you guys, and to watch it, now progress to awesome. They just found Kiely, good. Thank goodness. And
yeah, absolutely.
And that shows a progression in the training where you guys learn from each other. And tell me about some of those behind the scene dynamics as you were growing into this, if you can.
Yeah, it's all organic. It is, and it's easy because None of us, not one of us, carries a chip on our shoulder, and we don't ever think we know it all. And it's constant mindset of adapting and innovating and welcoming change. That's what has produced this snowball effect of everything with Adventures with Purpose, including the community support for making it possible. But it's all organic. It's what did we do right today? What did we do wrong today? What can we do better tomorrow? And so forth. And we're always with the mindset of being as efficient as possible, but not thinking we know it all. There's always room for growth. And when you stop thinking that there's room for growth, you're not alive anymore. You're specializing, or whatever you're into at that time has reached its pinnacle. And the second you are not teachable, or don't think that you know it all, it's ended. It's absolutely ended for you. And we just don't carry that kind of energy with us at all.
No, and we also, most of the time you'll just see, either Doug and I or Jared sometimes on camera, but behind the scenes we've got, several camera guys. And when the cameras aren't going, it's not just us deciding, hey, where do you think we should go next? We're open for everybody's input. And I think that's another huge part of what makes us keep growing and learning is somebody, even one of the camera guys, Josh, Devin, Carson, they might chime in with an idea that Doug and I forgot about. Like, that's a good idea. All right, let's move this direction or whatever.
Perfect.
So having all of us put is huge, and it's awesome.
It's teamwork.
Yep.
It's teamwork. There's no I in team, and it's a real organic, free flowing operation with no chips on any shoulders whatsoever.
Okay, so now that's just not that's learned. That's learned for what you just said. So is there a military background component to either one of you, family or yourself?
Yes, I spent 11 years in the Army, 2 years active duty Army, and then 9 years in the National Guard.
God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. I got out as a sergeant, so I was in leadership positions for kind of the end of my career. I got out a long time ago, like 2004. But that was a huge part of learning as I was growing up. I was also, I'm still a licensed electrician. That's kind of my trade.
Yep.
And so just
you won't
between
have
those,
to do that in the Airstream, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
I know. So awesome.
I like keep plugging it, please. By the end of this
I'm
episode,
going, brother. I'm getting you an
Hey,
Airstream. We're going to get an Airstream.
I might need to check my email right
Yeah.
now.
Check your email right now, buddy. But you guys listening, Mr. Airstream,
Yeah.
go ahead. Finish your thought, Nick. And thank
Yeah,
you for your
so-
service. Love our
you. I
vets. Go ahead.
It was an honor. I've got that military experience, and we also got another one of our camera guys, Devin, who was also in the Air Force. So there's a couple of us on the team that have a military background, which is kind of nice.
Yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
I grew up in the Washington D.C. area, and that's a real rough area. Owning, operating, and managing towing companies, and my entire life, and being in charge of whole entire teams of people, and managing trucks and individuals' personalities, and and a lot of the times being their therapist and so forth, and working with all different types of law enforcement agencies on those contracts, and all of that really has where I get my experience on dealing with people, and I get an overwhelming sense of common sense per se, dealing with tough situations as well. It's tough working those fatality scenes, and that's really where I get my background. And then being around Jared, I was around Jared for several years before I came into this full time, so I was able to learn a lot from Jared as well. So a lot of what I do and the way I do it, I was a sponge the whole time with Jared.
Way cool. Yeah, no, I could, that is so cool that you've been able to combine your skill sets and in what you do. I mean, it literally is like, having, excuse the analogy, but, having two guys in a vehicle or in a boat here, and then one of you knows exactly what you're going to do with, how you're going to get that thing out. And then the other one knows exactly, what you're looking at when you get there. And you did that, Nick, kudos to you. And I know it's been a ride, brother. Guarantee it. And, but you know, you look great. You sound great. You got a great smile. You know, you can't blow out a light bulb, as I say. You know, that you can certainly try, but it's not going to work,
I
right?
like that. You can't blow out a light bulb. That's
But
a
you
good one.
cannot blow out a light bulb, and you know, you guys keep pressing in the right direction. So I have some questions coming in, and are you guys up for some questions?
Sure.
Yeah.
And real quick, I just want to say,
Yeah, brother.
we don't have time to respond to all of them, but we do see all your comments along the bottom of the screen. And we
Okay,
appreciate all of them. So thank you. to every-
awesome.
Yeah, they're flying by. So
Oh, yeah.
there's no way we can sit here and
Right.
go boo boo boo. You know.
Yeah, no, I'll try to grab some of them.
Yeah, no,
This is more of a comment.
Yep.
Announcement on a press conference. I don't know that, Betty. Anybody heard of a press conference tomorrow?
I have not, but you know that's where we are on this case. You know, it's
Yep.
you know,
So God of Thunder says, are SOPs going to be adapting standards, if anything? If you know, I can't answer that either.
oh no, nothing's going to change. I mean, really, the only change that comes from this, because of exposure, is how much of a resource we truly are. How much more of a combined effort there needs to be the next time we are, you know, intimately working, you know, any cases in an area where law enforcement per se is not with us, because sometimes law enforcement is not with us. We're only working with a family. So it's just awareness. The only thing that's coming from this is 100% positivity. Obviously, with the more publicity we receive, the more success that we create, there's going to also create more criticism, more haters. That's just a natural side effect. And we'll never respond to that stuff because our characters and our body of work will always overshadow all of that. We don't
That's
have to.
exactly right.
We're not going to refer to any of that stuff and give those individuals that are fighting for relevancy any type of relevancy more than they don't even deserve it.
So I know you can't answer this because they typically protect that information, but I just want to put it up there. Okay, but it is coming. So guys, just pay attention to what's going to come up at some point with Dr. P there, Dr. Phil.
Yeah, it's just good. It'll probably be, we don't even know. So
yeah, no, but it's going to be cool.
I would think within a month. I mean, I don't know.
How was LA? Did you, when you went down near Paramount down there, did you cross through the jungle?
Sort of. Yeah. Paramount Studios was great. Everyone there was very, you know, inviting. It was humbling
awesome.
to be inside of such a huge operation and absorb what they do in their world as well, because we don't come from that world. So we, you know, like I said, no matter where we're at, we're sponges. So being inside of that, you know, extreme professional type of filming and studio and production, we're absorbing it, you know, keeping our eyes open, our ears open more than our mouths. And we learned a lot there. So
you guys drive into this question if you feel comfortable.
Absolutely, this is possible. You know, so with we have our opinion. Our opinion, if you've watched our episode, is based on a lot that you see in the episode, as well as 90% of the stuff that we cannot talk about and have never been able to talk about nor comment, and that none of the public even knows. So, but does that mean we're right? Absolutely not. We're allowed to voice our opinion, and we're never going to back down from that, because that's our voice. At the end of the day, if this is foul play, we could never be loud enough. Never. Now, law enforcement is going to come out here soon. Like you just mentioned, there's rumors they may come out tomorrow or something like that. But whenever they come out, we know we have one of three things that are going to happen, right? They're going to announce that it's an accident. That's going to create a whole storm because nobody's going to believe that. The second thing that's going to happen is they're going to say it's inconclusive, right? Inconclusive at this point, and then it's still ongoing. That's going to create another storm because of how things were handled every step of the way. There's a lot of blaming that's going to go on because of why it's inconclusive. Or three, the third one is that, hey, it is indeed very suspicious death, and it's still an ongoing investigation. And that in itself is going to create another storm. But, you know, just because we feel a certain way doesn't mean that that's how it is. You know, the law enforcement, the FBI, CHP, Nevada County Sheriff's Department, Prosser County Sheriff's Department, they're going to come up with a theory or their assessment. They'll present it to the public. And, unfortunately, fortunately, that's what we have to wait on. And right now, all we have is what we've released. And, depending on certain positions that they may take, we'll have a lot more info that will come forward and possibly a whole nother episode.
Yeah, those are well said. Well said. Absolutely. And make sure you guys pay attention to what's going on at AWP over there at their channel, because that's where you're going to get their, the most data coming from. And let me explain something from an LA side in relationship to why the CHP and why the various agencies, right? I mean, sometimes there's a little confusion, but, so the chippies, they're going to come in because they're master accident investigators. That's what they do. They look at, the schematics on the car. They look at, all kinds of stuff, points of impact, possibilities. Could it have been pushed? Could it have been driven? There's a variety of other things that they have some skill set and expertise in. And then you have the other situation. You have the reporting agency, i.e. the agency in charge. They're going to run a parallel to the AI, to the accident investigation. And what that means is, they're going to kind of stay out of the car situation, and they're going to, work on the peripheral edges. They're going to deal with witnesses, victims, families, all of that stuff. And then you have the ME, the medical examiner. Those individuals, that person obviously is going to, they're not going to really come out yet until the toxicologies come back. If there's evidence, of foul play in relationship from their perspective. Okay? And then all of these agencies and the FBI comes in with support mechanisms, evidence teams, and, everybody's got their opinion, but it never sometimes is always what it looks like. Okay. It could be different, but it doesn't mean it is different. So I think what, Doug and Nick have been saying from the very beginning is they have their opinions because they have observation. They were there. They saw it. They feel the way they feel. That is not to be, condemned or second guessed by anybody, in my opinion. This is just like, just like if this was a homicide case, very much that, everybody sits in the same room and you throw up ideas, and it doesn't mean any of the ideas are wrong. It just means somebody had an idea. And so, it's good that you guys, and I know this is your model because I've watched you guys, and I know that's how Jared operates because I've met with him one-on-one. And you guys, you throw it at the wall, and if it sticks, then it's probably evidence. And if it doesn't, oh well, let's look over here. And if you really want to see Doug's personality, go watch that video again where he stops. Okay. And I love this about you. Are like, you start pulling that beard, man, like, waiting for Santa Claus. You got to turn that beard white, over
Right.
over Christmas, and it's like you were in deep thought because you knew what time it was. You knew it. And then Nick, you popped up, and man, that was like gripping. It's like, holy cow, they did it. They got it. What was going through your mind? Can you share that?
Sure. Obviously, when we first kind of between the two of us confirmed that, boy, there's a really good chance here that this is a vehicle. But obviously at that point, you can't confirm anything. The only way to truly confirm if it's the vehicle you're looking for is to put your dive gear on and go down and physically, take a look at it. And so while Doug was kind of prepping, he was in the boat, kind of prepping the vehicle with the magnet and the buoy. I'm in the trailer putting on my dive gear, and you can bet there was a lot of thoughts going through my head because at the time we didn't have a confirmation if that was Kiely's vehicle or not, but I somehow knew that the probability of it being there was higher than the other way. So I had to kind of mentally prepare myself for what I was about to encounter. And then, of course, when you go down and you saw that just in the video right away, I was at the back of the vehicle and could see the license plate. So, I was only underwater for a few seconds before I knew right away, you know. And so in that split second, all kinds of emotions are going through your head of shock and, you know, we found her, but wow, this isn't what I expected. I wasn't planning for this. Now I got to look at the vehicle and see if she's in there. And so, when I got up out of the water and took my mask off, and you saw that moment there where I'm kind of emotional and taking a few breaths. There's a lot of emotions going through my head. It wasn't just the fact of what I saw, but I couldn't believe that we just found her. And you're breathing compressed air underwater by yourself, and your adrenaline's going, so it's kind of hard to breathe anyway. And so just to finally get a breath of fresh air and take those few first breaths to kind of focus on what you had just seen and what you just confirmed, and now you have to let the family know some very bad news. So yes, it was a very emotional moment for me. It took me a few seconds there, as you could see, to kind of gather my senses.
Interesting. Doug, what was going through your mind, bro?
Yeah, nobody's prepared to deal with that. Each and every one that we do, we are learning. We're learning the processes, and we also know that the world is watching. And so, being respectful is number one, professional as well, and, methodical, and making sure that we're not recklessly doing anything, taking the time to ensure certain things that happen in order to protect the integrity of everything. Because that's the main thing, is protecting the integrity of the crime scene, the evidence that's in the vehicle, and so forth is always our number one goal when we are allowed to control and command everything that we're doing there. Because a lot of times, most law enforcement agencies actually use us. They understand they have a dive team, but they know their dive team isn't as experienced with underwater vehicle forensics removal. So they allow us to conduct a lot of the operations, or use us as consultants every step of the way. So what's going through our head at that time is just taking our time, thinking about it. At this point, it's not a rush. Things are very serious. It's next level in those moments. And what you do in those moments can make and break and ruin everything. So it's really, really, our focus, like I said, is just being respectful, responsible, protecting the integrity of everything, if we have the ability to do so. And what you don't see, what you don't see there, and what the public does not know is, like Jared stated earlier, for those of you who just got into this, when we made that discovery, New York Post was with us in our crew that day doing a profile story on us, because we just, we've been creating a lot of news for the cases that we're working. So they were there just covering who we are as a team. And also on the other side of the reservoir is full of news agencies. So the climate that is in this particular case is one that we have never dealt with. So that's another thing that's on my mind. How do we contain this information, as well as making sure that it's not tainted, which is number one. You saw the first thing, we all went dark. I had everybody turn their phones off. I went to shore immediately, and this guy loves me. He's okay. But I took the New York Post guy's phone from him so that he could not. I just didn't want to take any chances. I didn't want anything to be leaked until the family and law enforcement knew and got there. And that's what nobody knows. They only see what we're able to put out respectively. There's so much more that goes on, but our true supporters know how we operate and know what we do. And, so that was every step of the way, where how do we contain this? And in that area, 18 agencies had worked on it with 19,000 man hours. And you have all those media representatives that are out there just waiting for us to put a buoy in the water. And, so in those moments, I guess my main focus was containing the information and making sure, because I know there's no containing it, but how do we go about this the best way? Because you only have a couple of seconds before the whole world knows, by all these media outlets, and they twist the narratives and all that other stuff. You know what I mean? So we went dark, notified family, notified law enforcement, and then you'll see the New York Post was the very first to actually present the case to the nation.
Yeah, so some useless truth. Go ahead, Nick. What were we going to say?
I was just looking at this question I was going to ask Doug.
It says, question: the algae bloom made it hard to determine it was recently submerged vehicle until the magnet swipe. Is that a fair assessment? No, the algae didn't have anything to do with it. It was, for a new car, this is the easiest find you can have. You have no current, great visibility, and it's not deep. This was really, really easy for us to find. Really, I mean, as soon as Nick went over it, he saw the shadow. As soon as I went over it, we knew that it was something. And once you make that discovery, Nick's describing how he was in the trailer and he's suiting up, and we don't know what we have, but we know there's a weird energy, and you've probably had this at crime scenes where there's just an energy that's in the air that you just can't really describe. It's otherworldly, and like we knew when we found the car, when I put the magnet on it, that was gonna be her. It's just we had to go through our progressions, to suit up, to go down and properly identify the vehicle, make sure it's her vehicle, assess the vehicle, and so forth. Because everything that we do down there is going to be really critical information for law enforcement once they come onto the scene. How is the vehicle, condition of the vehicle, how does it need to be recovered, and so forth, and all of that. Is there remains inside? And when we're doing that, and Nick's down there focusing on assessing and identifying, and that whole process was really, and I'm not sounding arrogant, but it was one of the easiest finds you can have for us.
It's just useless trivia real fast.
Sure.
To dovetail into your thought process there, the first thing that in a homicide 101, the first thing you train is you have 15 minutes to make over 365 decisions, and not one of them can be wrong.
That's a good analogy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because if they are wrong, then we used to call it getting fonged. Remember Barry Scheck during the trial back in the day with the Dr. Fong, the criminalist? And he would go, "What about that, Mr. Fong?" Okay. And so you never want to get fonged. And so I was watching you intently, and you were processing very clearly about what direction you were headed. And you know what? You made the right choices. You made the right calls. All of this fell into place. And, you got that little girl home. Ellie's involved. They can do what they need to, right? We can all, give them kudos too for what they're doing. I mean, I just, I'm a straight shooter right down the middle, but you guys didn't do anything that was off base. In fact, you protected the integrity of the situation. So here is a question. Who wants to grab that?
Will AWP build a team that strictly goes out to train law enforcement? That is something that I definitely see in the future. However, there's, we're growing. When it's time for that to happen and we're able to make that happen, absolutely. Because we want to help as many people, families, and agencies as possible. And we are doing that behind the scenes with quite a few agencies.
Yeah, and even in our downtime between road trips, some of us will get contacted by local law enforcement. I've gotten contacted by local law enforcement here in Central Oregon asking, "Hey, do you think you guys can put on a training on how to use these new sonar equipment that we got?" And so not to say there might not be a specific team to go out and train law enforcement, but that's not to say that in our downtime, some of us may go and use our downtime to go train local law enforcement for those types of things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you guys want to, Corinna has a question.
Question for AWP: who would we contact to assist in getting you government funding? That I love that, Corinna. Right now, that's there's so much talk, there's so much movement within states and federal level agencies that it could be in the near future. Obviously, the more funding we have, the more good that we can do in the world. I mean, you've seen what Jared has been able to do with what the community is able to help him do it with. I mean, just imagine if we had a $13 million funding per year or whatever it may be, how much better, how many more things we could accomplish. I think really it's only a matter of time. Really, it's, you know, there's a lot of awareness, a lot of positivity from law enforcement all across the nation, and it's really humbling to get so many emails from representatives day in and day out, and phone calls from extremely high level agencies about things that are happening, and it's going to happen. I keep seeing questions over here, and I just want to nip it in the bud. I just want to nip it in the bud, and you know, as far as Kylie's car coming out,
Okay, good.
we were asked to leave the scene. We were not consulted, and we had nothing to do with the car coming out. As you guys know, we were spectators at that point. Did things go wrong? Obviously, things went horribly wrong. But with the knowledge and expertise that they have, they did what they could do. You know, they don't do this every day. We deal with cars underwater almost every day. So when you take us and compare to them in that situation, obviously it's not apples to apples. It's far from it. And it's a learning experience for them as well. You know, there was a lot of mistakes that have been made, and they've rectified them. They've learned from them. They see the solutions to those mistakes moving forward. And it's unfortunate, but the answer is no. We had nothing to do with the car coming out. If it was us, we would have our you know, motivation coming into this would have been containing evidence in the integrity of the crime scene, you know, sealing up the windows, removing evidence out prior to sealing up the windows, and removing the vehicle just the way it's sat. You know, the importance of that contains the evidence. You know, we're working with a vehicle that has no current, a lot of visibility. It's really, really the most ideal conditions for anything like this. The car should have came out right on its roof. But that's easy to say in hindsight. And also we're kind of experts at it. It's easy for us to take that stance. The people that were there don't do this all the time. You know, should they know? Absolutely. They should know these things. I really wish we would have been consulted on this, you know, because all the other agencies that we work with, they use us to command these operations, and you see it on all the YouTube videos, and or at least use us as consultants on how it should be done. And it's really important because we're a great resource. It's just that this case was the moment there was very big, you know, so they had to contain the scene. If you're not law enforcement, unfortunately, you cannot stay inside of the scene. That's never going to happen. It's very rare when you have CHP, FBI, and 4 other state agencies on a scene. You're not going to, unfortunately, have civilians that are allowed within that perimeter. I mean, you know that, like, that's rare. Yeah. So that's why that happened the way it did. And like I said, no, the answer is no. We had nothing to do with that. And, really wish we had.
Keeps you out of court too.
It does.
Right?
You know,
I mean, that's the Reader's Digest version. And, you know, in some agencies, you know, we'll get through that. But so this one is about your window breakers, laminate or tempered glass. Clarify. And then I have this comment here. Emergency window breakers. Tell everybody where they can get those. I know you guys have had them up in your merch over there. Tell them what it does. And by the way, they got a great video that could save your life. So get over there and watch that too.
Check that video out. Our window breaker episode that we came out with about 8 months ago. It's a really informative video on what you need to do in the situation of an emergency in order to get out of a vehicle. It's really important information. You know, tempered and laminated glass. Those are 2 of the most common types of glass that are on vehicles. Laminated glass is really hard to break. It's going to hold up. It's going to stick together. It's really hard to use per se. It's just our window breakers on laminated glass. They still can work. It just takes a lot more to break a laminated glass. You always want to go for your tempered glass. The tempered glass is actually designed to just explode. So I believe it's 2016, 2017 or newer. You know, most of the vehicles have laminated glass on them. And that is also a design to stop people from being ejected out of vehicles in car accidents, because on older vehicles, it's really easy for people to get ejected out when it's just tempered glass. So you want to make sure, and all your windows have a little decal, a little emblem in the corner of them that will let you know tempered or laminated. Go to your vehicle, identify on your vehicle which windows are laminated, which windows are tempered. Always go for your tempered windows where you have them. And as far as where you can get a window breaker, awpwindowbreaker.com. awpwindowbreaker.com. That's where you can get our window breakers. Right now they are on that site, not the Adventures with Purpose site, where you can find our hats and the magnets and shirts and sweaters and stuff like that. And all of this stuff helps us do what we do. It's a small give back to the community. You can rep our hat, you can rep the sweatshirt here, or whatever it is you want to get. And you can also get a window breaker to save your life, your friend's life, your family's life. We have people that buy them for everybody they know. They're only $6, $6.95. So it's small
mandatory equipment for everybody. Get one, put it in your keychain, have it with you.
You got to have it accessible. If it's in your glove box or it's in your center console, it's not going to save your life. You got to have this thing in your vehicle and accessible near your steering wheel at all times, or it's completely useless. You get those big clumpy hammers that people buy for breaking windows. They're in their glove box. The glove box is not going to help you. Sorry, when you're flipped upside down, trapped in your seatbelt, you can't reach your glove box. If you watch my video, I couldn't reach anything, and I didn't know what was going to happen. So what you don't see in that video is me inside, like, wow, I cannot believe how restricted I am in my seat upside down. I can't reach anything. If it's not near your steering wheel, it's not going to save your life. And it's not just for when you go underwater either. I mean, as being a law enforcement officer, how many people die from smoke inhalation in really tiny accidents where their doors are crimped. You might be on 911 thinking you're okay and smoke's coming in no, you need to bust that window and get out immediately, because smoke inhalation in minor accidents kills a lot of people in the United States. A lot of people.
Yeah, no, this is good information, guys and gals. Nick, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'll answer the next question that's on the screen right there. Somebody's asking, do you know if the law enforcement on scene locked down the perimeter immediately once the vehicle and Kiely were found? If so, what's the radius? Thanks. I'm going to say, yes, it was pretty much immediately, in the sense that when they started showing up, different agencies and different detectives and whatnot, over the case of maybe 30 minutes, they would question us on, where is it? What did you find? Then we took them into the trailer, and I actually showed them the video footage that I got from underneath the, circling around the vehicle. And then pretty much once they saw that, they got on the radios, and then they pretty much said, okay, thank you for your help. Can you guys get out of the area? As far as the radius, I don't know exactly how far, but it was this particular case, maybe because I don't know what the standard is for any thing like that. This one was a pretty good area. I would say at least a couple 100 yards from the angle we were at, but eventually as it went into the evening, it was almost the entire lake was on lockdown, and people were allowed to leave, but they weren't letting people come to the lake.
How does family feel and deal with you away on the road? I bet they are proud of you. Yeah, my wife and daughters and friends are all very extremely supportive. They understand what we're doing, and it's not easy. We travel for 20 weeks of the year, but having their support is critical. My wife is fully supportive. We have an amazing relationship. So it's really easy in my situation. And it is so for Jared too. Jared's family has been supportive of him, and without his family, none of this would even be possible. So, our families are great, very, very supportive of us every single step of the way. And it flows, where my family respect what I do. My daughters love it. Everybody in their school knows who I am, and the teachers and stuff want me to speak to the kids, and so it's all surreal, but my daughters love it. My wife's supportive, and they understand that we got to be away. If we also, we're out there doing something that nobody else has been able to do, so we have to be able to put the work in that nobody else has put in, and that's not easy, and we're out there 20 weeks of the year. And that's the way it is right now. That's the way it's going to be for the foreseen future. And we're going to keep at it. We're going to stay strong, and the support behind us is massive.
Yeah, let me grab this one here from an LE perspective. So, could a dog be able to sense human remains since windows open in the water? The answer is potentially, because when the body expands, there's gases within, almost a couple of hours. And then, of course, there's going to be a lot of animal activity. And usually within the first 24 hours, you're going to get the most scent that is going to start floating up. And a lot of times you can run a dog in a boat over a geographic region, but it doesn't necessarily mean that depends on, where the victim is in a vehicle. It doesn't mean necessarily that they're always going to hit on a human remains. You guys, what's your thought process on that?
Yeah, it's hit or miss with cadaver dogs around water. There's a lot that they can do. There's a lot that they can't do. There's also the aspect of water always giving off a false signal, because there's a lot of those compounds that the dogs are trained on that are naturally in water. There's a lot of death in water. So it may not necessarily be human, but there's a lot of decay that's in water, in any body of water. So it's hit or miss, really. Cadaver dogs are 1,000 times more accurate on land away from water, in my experience.
I can answer this one. Can you clear up rumors that front tires were flat? So remember, the vehicle was upside down, and I know it's an active case, so I was trying not to touch the vehicle hardly, with very minimal amount as possible. Even if a tire was flat underwater, upside down, unless you were to probably put your hands on it and push it, you wouldn't be able to tell. The tires were all there, and they looked intact to me.
Okay.
So
some of these are more comments versus questions.
Yeah, I see some of the other comments. And this is
grab
just
what you want.
I'm gonna nip this in the bud as well. I'm gonna put this out there. So the stuff that's going around on the representative that was in our video, the roadside assistance guys, 1,000 not accurate. The person they're talking about is not even the same person. He's not a private investigator. All of this stuff is completely false. I don't even know where it comes from, and I hate to laugh. It's just that crazy. So all of that stuff has caught on like a fire. 1,000% absolutely not true. Not even close. That stuff needs to go away. It's not.
And same, could the car have been planted, right?
Yeah. Could the car have been planted? I mean, I doubt it. I really
could
doubt
it have been? Yes.
It could have
been.
been.
Do we think it was?
I doubt it. I really do doubt that car. Now, if the car was put there by a foul play, by a murderer in the very beginning, yes, it could have been planted there by the person who did it. As far as afterward, like some people think, like, okay, it was searched, nobody found it, and then it ended up there. A lot of people think that it was put in there after the fact. That's highly unlikely.
So here's a good comment. Stand tall, Doug. We support you, and no internet madness happens.
Oh yeah, we
you want to start a club? Well, you want to start a club? We'll get jackets.
Yeah,
you guys are true. You're true heroes. Here, Liz. You guys are true heroes. We all know you stand where you stand. Ellie goes another way. You will still release the findings. You know what? Let's wait and see what they say, and let's wait and see what AWP says.
So we've released as much as we can in order to remain professional. And what we've done is found the where. We've delivered them the necessary portion of their investigation to complete it, which was the car and finding Kiely. And I have full faith that they're going to do a good job now that they have those things. I know a lot of people have not said good things about them because of the way things have done. However, that all that's over with. They have what they need. They've gathered themselves, and I have full faith that they'll get to the bottom of it.
So this one here, obviously.
Yeah. So don't go to our website for the window breakers.
Tell them again, brother.
don't go to adventureswithpurpose.com unless you want a magnet, a t-shirt, a hat, or a sweatshirt. For a window breaker, you have to go to awpwindowbreaker.com. If any of the mods or anybody in here can put that in the chat or comment, that would be great. So everybody has that. It's different. We had a complication with our website, so there's another site that we have that's up now, so everybody can get one of those life-saving tools.
Okay, so we've got a couple more here. I already put this one up.
Has the individuals in the car been identified in the roadside assistance vehicle? Yes, law enforcement has identified that. They are working. They have done their job and are working on it. But obviously, those types of it's an open investigation, so we can't disclose anything else on that, and nor is law enforcement going to at this point.
Yeah, there's a whole investigative process taking place behind the scenes, guys and gals. I mean, this is why I've stayed out of this until today. Mm-hmm. Really, I mean, this is the first time, I reached out to Jared and said, hey, let's connect here and put some sanity out there. And that's what we're doing right now. And, these guys, if you're just joining us, in my opinion, the AWP did everything just right. 100%. We can critique, whether or not, folks feel that they've done, or Ellie or whoever's done something different. Well, you know what? I've worked well over 300 murders in my career and almost 500 death investigations. And every single one of them has dynamics that are constantly in flux and moving. Yeah. So this is one of these situations, and everything they did, from my perspective, I'm hoping that Ellie will have them more and more, which they are. Law enforcement's embracing them all over the country. But now we need to, just kind of think about the family, think about, Kiely's mom, think about Kiely's dad, grandfather, everybody, and just kind of, take a deep breath and let's see where this thing goes. And let the authorities do what they need to do. And AWP's off already, looking for, Jalissa Fuentes. We don't want to lose, sight of what, she's out there. We need to help find her. She's been missing, and, and so we need to focus on that too. And I'm going to put some flyers up and stuff on, her case. And I'm going to stay, very close to these guys on this situation as a whole. I got a couple more questions here I'm going to put up here. Nick, this one here was that was very respectful, more of a comment, and thank you very much, Angela. I totally agree with you, and Nick's a good Army guy. So he's a vet, so we love this guy, and we love Doug too. I mean, he's the kind of guy I would say, what kind of glass is that? And he'd go, Chris, don't hit it with that, you idiot. We don't want to break it that way. Okay, show me how to break it. So we all have our skills, and I know everybody has been 1,000,000% behind you guys. I hope you get 10 million viewers, not just 2 subscribers. I hope you get 10 million, if not more. Okay, because what you are doing and what Jared is doing, now that you guys got 2 teams going into different directions, 2 wraps, we need to get 2 airstreams from Jackson, Ohio.
Yeah, I heard Mark Wahlberg owns an Airstream dealer.
He does.
Really?
And he's a good Boston boy.
Yeah, and I love Boston.
Okay, guys, we need to get hold of Mark, hit him up.
We'll actually on this trip. We're actually going to be working a couple cases in Massachusetts too, as well. We're going to be all across the country.
There you go. Okay, so he's gonna. Maybe we can get somebody to kick up a couple of Airstreams here for these guys and wrap them. Now, it's good stuff. You're doing a great stuff. Okay, so hang on for a minute. I got a couple more, and then here's what I do. I've had you guys here almost 2 hours, and I know that's a lot of time. And I appreciate it. I think we already answered this one, right? The tire was flat. Didn't you answer this, Nick?
Yeah, we answered that one.
Okay, a super sticker. Thank you so much, OG. We appreciate you so much. It was fascinating to see how you guys found her. Just amazing stuff. I mean, you're loved by the world for the right reasons, and you continue to do.
Thank you, everybody that supports
Absolutely.
us, the community, the world that puts us in the position to do this. We are so thankful. We are a vessel. You are putting us in this position, and a huge shout out to law enforcement that is just really reaching out aggressively to support us, to let us know that they stand with us. It's amazing. And our supporters have been amazing every step of the way. It's an honor to be in the position to do what we do on their behalf, because really it is. We would be nobody if we weren't supported and put in this position. So thank you to all you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so I have a tradition here on the interview room, and that tradition is this. I grew up in Hawaii when I was younger. My dad was in the Marine Corps 31 years, and he was stationed at Kaneohe Marine Corps Air Station. So I always adhere to the aloha spirit, and that spirit is inclusion of love and positive vibes throughout whatever somebody's doing. So for my guest, I give you guys the last word. So, and then I play a song from Hawaii. So what I'm going to do here is two things. Number one, guys and gals, if you like tonight's show, please give it a thumbs up, share, subscribe, pass it out to everybody. These guys are amazing. We absolutely love AWP. I'm honored to call them friends. And then you guys get the last word. I'm going to pull out here, and then we're going to go to Hawaii. Are you guys good with that?
That's right.
Sure.
That's awesome.
Okay, so you get the last word. Gentlemen, thank you so much for everything you're doing. Thank you for your time. And, please be safe out there in all that you're doing, okay? So
Thank you, Chris.
I'm out.
Go ahead.
All right, guys. Listen, no matter where you're at, no matter what you're doing in life, always do it, and do it hard. Relentlessness to accomplish the impossible makes it possible no matter what you're doing in life. So just do it. Nike has one of the most amazing slogans there is. Just do it. That's all you got to do is just do it. Get out there, put one foot in front of the other, and don't worry about it. Make it happen. No matter what you're doing or where you're at in life, make it happen.
And thank you for all your support. Thanks for watching our videos. We appreciate it. That's what makes this all happen. So everybody be safe out there. We appreciate everything you've done for us. Thank you.
And subscribe. Make sure you
hard working every day. I'm stressed out 24/7, babe. No timeouts. Wish we could fly away. You and I go to our favorite place. Oh yeah. Make special memories together. I'll be your company now and forever. I say we fly away. You and me go to our favorite place. Feeling the sun on my face in Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. I need a summer breeze, some fresh air to put my mind at ease. No cares. You wanna come with me? Me and you go to our favorite tree. Are you ready now? We jump on a plane now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. Don't hesitate now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. We'll never come down. We're going away. Yeah, we're going away. You and me. Feeling face in a while.